Well, hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Kris here from Finland Mennonite Church. It's time for another Midweek Musing, this time where we slow down and remind ourselves of one truth from the previous week's sermon and the scriptures we were in. Well, Pastor Jerry led us off in Galatians chapter 1 this past week, and he talked a lot about transformation. The idea that nothing counts but a new creation or a transformation, which is what Paul said. So all this talk about transformation, that the gospel, that the point of Jesus coming was so that lives would be transformed, that the reason we share the good news of Jesus is so that others can be transformed. And this talk of transformation, it had me thinking, right? It had me musing. And so I have a couple things with me today to help us illustrate this point of transformation. I got a tea kettle, right? A water kettle here. And I've got, well, my container here with a cylinder on top, and inside the cylinder, coffee grinds. So maybe you already can see where this is going, but maybe like me, you enjoy a cup of coffee, perhaps hot chocolate's more your thing, or maybe tea. Either way, it will fit in this, and you can even, if you have hot chocolate at home, go make a cup. Or if you have tea, go make a cup, and you'll see basically the exact same thing happens. What do we have? Well, we have a container of hot water. What do I do with this? Well, I'm going to pour it over, right? This is my pour over coffee. And I'm going to pour it over. And something's going to drip out the bottom. And so it's a clear liquid going in. It is not a clear liquid coming out, is it? I mean, you can see building up in the bottom, right? Of course not. What is it? Well, it's coffee. It's no longer water. Simply by pouring water through my coffee beans, ground up, what comes out is not just hot water, but coffee, right? It is transformed. If you have a packet of hot chocolate, then you pour your hot water in and you stir it up. Do you just have a cup of hot water? No, you have a cup of hot chocolate. What did you add? You added a powder, you mixed it with water, and you got a transformation. Tea is the same way. You sit tea in, you add a tea bag, you add tea leaves, it sits long enough. What happens to the water? Does it stay just water? No. Now, for you scientists out there, I know you're thinking, that's not a true transformation. You know what? But for all that it's considered, I would be greatly not able to, if you asked me to say, well, make this back to water, just pure water, I go, well, maybe that's possible. I don't have the means to do that. This is now coffee. In the same way, friends, when we follow Jesus, when we trust Jesus, when we submit and surrender to Jesus, yes, it's a long life of being sanctified, as Jerry said, from one degree of glory to another, but it's a life of transformation. You are no longer simply warm water when you follow Jesus, right? You are now put through that mixture, and you, friends, are something new. So if you're following Jesus, if you're surrendered to Jesus, if Jesus is in fact Lord of your lives, then you are transformed. Much like that caterpillar to the butterfly, as Jerry pointed out, much like my hot water is now coffee. So as you finish out this week, right, live it as a transformed person. No longer who you were, but who you are and who you're becoming, which is more and more like Jesus. So I'm going to ponder that more. I'm going to muse over that a little bit more as I enjoy this cup of coffee. And I trust that you too will muse over that. And as you drink your coffee or your hot chocolate or your tea, but more importantly, that you and I will go and live as transformed people, more and more like Jesus, to those where we live, where we work, where we study, and where we play. Have a blessed week.